Hey guys, I'm AC. This is Kurt. This is Chip.
Good to meet you.
Let's talk youth ministry.
How's up?
Yeah, what's up, brother? How are you?
I'm good.
Chip.
See Kurt. Great to see you, man.
Let me formally introduce this guy.
Please do.
Sure.
Youth Ministry Nation, this is Chip Bragg. He is the #1 volunteer at HSM.
You can't say that.
Thanks. I don't know about that.
There's a lot of...
You're supposed to be like the father. You love everybody equally. That's like saying Shania is your #1 child. You can't say that.
But that's a position on the show. So whoever's sitting here is the #1.
There you go. So for this moment, right?
For this moment.
For this podcast,
Chip,
I'm #1.
this moment.
So Chip has been a volunteer in our high school ministry for 9 years.
Almost 9 years.
Almost 9 years.
I think.
He's with us today. He didn't know he was going to be with us today.
Nope.
But we are in sort of our second little installment where we're focusing on volunteer ministry.
Yeah.
And I texted AC because you were running late, as you have a little bit of a habit of doing. But I texted AC.
Hey, no Starbucks. I have no Starbucks.
You don't have Starbucks, thank you. That's my pet peeve, when people come late to a meeting, but they have Starbucks in their hand. It drives me nuts.
Gotcha.
You got time to stop at Starbucks, but not to get to the meeting. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So I texted AC, hey, dude, where you at? He said, 3:30, I'll be there. And he said, I'm with Chip. I said, bring Chip with you. So Chip didn't know, but he's our guest today because, Chip, we're going to talk today, and I'll just kind of set the stage, and then I'll let you two guys, because you and I are buddies.
Yep.
My son loves you. My son's a high school senior now.
Yeah.
But you minister week to week with AC.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to kind of talk about some things. But here's what I want to set the subject up for is last week we talked about some ways to do some things with volunteers, and you can go back and see it. Today what we want to do is we want to focus on this idea of what I call volunteer TLC. Last week we talked about encouragement being a huge piece of loving on volunteers and caring for volunteers and all that. TLC specifically, though, I think it's really like when you go, what do you have to do with your volunteers? What are the key elements of ministering to your volunteers? And I think it's TLC, training, leadership, and care. That our role, my role, AC's role, Jessica's role, Katie's role, whoever, Josh's role, our role is with you and the other volunteers on our team is to provide you with TLC, training, leadership, and care. So what I thought we could do today, just for fun, I don't know for sure how you're going to answer these questions, hopefully in the affirmative, but I thought, hey, let's just ask Chip. Yeah. What kind of training have we done that's been meaningful to you? Yeah. How much training is too much training? Yeah. Is it possible to overtrain? Yeah. How have we led you well? What do you expect from your leaders? How have we cared for you? Are we good at caring for you? And we just thought the Youth Ministry Nation would benefit from hearing from somebody who is sitting in the chair of a volunteer on a youth ministry team. Yeah. So AC and Chip, take it away. I'll probably chime in once in a while, but I'll try not to.
No, I think the beginning is the question you brought up. Like, what do you feel has been the best training that you've received? Like, not best training, but important, like training that you've received in HSM.
Every year we've got a time where we just get together as a group of volunteers. I lead a Bible study. I'm a small group leader, life group leader, and so every year we have like a 1 to 2 week training where we actually a couple nights, one night a week, where we just get together and the staff just goes over every single important facet that's involved in being a life group leader. That gives scenarios maybe on a situation that comes up. If a kid is going through a particular struggle, how to minister to that, how to not get discouraged, how to make sure that we're growing in our own faith. So really practical stuff, number one. Number two, also just experience, their life experience. I mean, these are guys that come alongside of us and share, hey, this is what I've done when I've been in that situation, or this is how I've ministered to that kid. So just the beginning of the year training, and then just doing life together throughout the year.
Has there been a specific thing that you I look forward to getting to know more about this one set piece because it helps me more than some of the other stuff that we may talk about? I'm putting you on the spot.
No, I'm just trying to think. So what the question is, what particular thing am I going to learn about?
Particular
like a skill set. Have
like
we
a skill
trained
set.
you in a
or like
way
out of
that
all the
needed?
things that we kind of list off, is there anything that sticks out to you that has been super important?
For me, because I'm a weekend leader, and then I'm a life group leader. Yeah. For a weekend leader, it's pretty basic. It's just loving kids, just encouraging them and loving them and getting to know them. I have the joy of being able just to establish relationship with these guys and pour into their lives. The real practical stuff for being a life group leader, we've got this great curriculum that I can look through and I can plan and I can pray about. So that has been a huge help, just knowing, that somebody can come on board that isn't necessarily a biblical scholar, but can share,
their AC. I think he's pretty biblically sound. Oh, you're talking about your own.
About me.
I know the Bible.
This guy, because AC is a biblical scholar.
No. Nope.
So I think so. That's been great for me, just having something where I can go to these guys and share. Another thing that I love is just being able to run ideas or run questions by staff and say, "Here's my scenario. What am I going to do with this kid? We're at camp and this kid just, told me this about his life and." This is how I'm going to approach it. What do you think? And let's just pray about it. Can we just pray about it together and see, get some wisdom?
Yeah. Have you ever felt like you're overtrained or we do too much, or what side do you kind of like land on? Because Kurt lands on the side. You can overtrain and inundate volunteers to the point where maybe you're talking about stuff that don't even really matter, but you feel like you need to add this in. So,
is there such a thing as too much training?
Yeah. I don't think, to answer your question, I don't think that we have too much training. I think there is such a thing as too much training.
But we haven't hit it yet.
I don't think so. I think that there are things that we've talked about in training that in the back of my mind, I thought, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to run across that situation, but I have.
Right.
And I'm glad I was trained in that.
Yeah.
What do you do when a kid says they want to commit suicide?
Right. Yeah.
I had two kids in my life group that were both institutionalized for mental illness. One attempted suicide, and so I was able to minister to that situation and know that it wasn't something new to the ministry.
Right.
It's not common, but I felt relatively equipped to minister to these kids.
Okay. Before we move on to leadership, this is like the speed round.
Okay.
So I'm just going to ask you some quick questions.
Sure.
Just give me quick answers.
Sure.
It's kind of like your gut word association answers.
Sure.
Formal training or informal over coffee one-on-one training?
A little both.
A little bit of both?
Yeah, I like formal training, but I love getting together over coffee just because it's more fun.
Okay. Yeah. How important is it for you to have stuff in writing? Policies, a notebook, phone numbers, here's a list of our counselors, or would you rather just know I can call AC and he'll give me that stuff?
I like stuff in writing for some reason because once I read it, I can circle it, and I have gone back and I have looked for a resource, or I have looked so that I have it. Okay. Not that I'm going to do that all the time.
Yep.
So I like to just have it.
Yep.
In case.
And then last question. I know what I want to ask. I just don't know how to phrase it. How can we best honor your time when you give up your time for training? Yeah. How do we make it? How do we abuse your time and make it? Like, why did I even come to this? And how do we make it so that you go, oh, I'm really glad I came to this? Because you're a busy guy. You own your own business, right?
Yeah. Let's see. I think, I don't know. I think that to not abuse my time, there's been times where I just want to make sure that they're prepared, that they've got something to say.
Us.
And that you guys have something to say, and that it's relevant.
Okay.
And I don't like, I think sometimes it can be frustrating if there's redundancy, but that doesn't really happen that often. Yeah. If you're talking about something that we talked about, like just 2 weeks ago, but that doesn't really happen.
Yep. Great.
So,
okay. Good. Training, leadership. Yep. Here's what I want you guys to talk about. What do you expect? Right, we're just talking about training, so we're obviously training people like you to do ministry. But it's not just so we can wash our hands of everything.
Yeah.
There should be a give and take. So just like we expect this notebook of stuff from you. You should, as a volunteer, expect certain things from the church leadership. What do you expect from us? And how can we best lead our volunteers?
Okay. Gosh, I expect from the leadership to, as a volunteer, know that I'm part of that team. Okay. So I'm not just somebody that comes in and performs a service. I want to know that I'm part of that team and that we're working together as a team. And so I do expect that, and I've seen that. I'm super thankful for that here at Saddleback, where I feel included, and we're all working on this thing together.
Here you go, Chip.
So I don't know.
Wow.
So that would be.
AC told you. AC.
No.
Well done, AC.
And what was the other question?
How can we lead you well? Like you said, you expect for us to include you in the team.
Yeah. What
are some things we can do that leads you well in your various roles, other than training?
I think it's more than just a ministry, because what we're doing affects the eternity of these kids, okay? And what we're doing affects our eternity as well. And to have that perspective while we're doing it makes all the difference. So it's not just, okay, see, we're going to do this task together, or we're going to handle this project together, but we're getting ready for eternity, man, and we're doing life together, and you really become friends with the people that you're ministering with. And that's my prayer and my hope, is that of all the life group leaders that we have in the high school ministry, that there can be a powerful community there, that years from now we can look back and go, remember that time, God did this, or remember that time we did that, and so but really doing life together. So
I think one thing that I think is a huge thing, and this was for me because I started off as a life group leader before I came on staff, and that's just seeing the examples, like seeing people who are all in, like seeing the team being all in life groups and all in, doing whatever it takes to love on and care for these students. I want to be a part of that. I'm going to feed off of that and give just as much as you're giving when I see you're jumping in and doing that. So one thing that I think could be great in terms of you leading, your volunteers, is be an example. Whatever you want them to do, be all in, and you don't always have to tell them what to do. You can actually show them, and they'll say, oh, wow.
Well, and we talk a lot, even amongst ourselves, as the paid team of our youth ministry. Hey, we need to be ministering to Chip the exact same way we hope he's ministering to his life group of high school guys. Right? So do we want Chip taking high school guys out for coffee and asking them how they're doing? Then we should be doing that with Chip. Do we want Chip praying for his guys? Then we should be praying for Chip. Do we want Chip holding his guys accountable in certain ways when he sees things that he knows is unhealthy? Well, then we should be willing and in relationship to do. So we need to lead you in the same way we're hoping that you're leading the students, right? I mean, that's kind of how some of the language.
I remember you sent an email out, and this was not this summer camp, but the summer camp prior, and that email stuck out to me more than anything, and it was more of you directing us, and you said, the first line was, summer camp is not for you, it's for the students. And the whole premise of it was, you do whatever it takes to make sure these students have an experience where they're able to connect with God and have fun and connect with other students. And that's what this week is about. And I took that as a challenge, like, okay, this is something that we need to do so that our leaders can see the same thing, that we're out. We're not just off to the side congregating, but we're with students in the mix of it. And it's great to see leaders doing the same thing, and leaders coming to you and they're like, hey, I'm having this issue, because they know that you're there and you're ready to answer and be all in with them, and you're not off doing your own thing. They know you're just as much in the thick of it as they are. Well, and that's a huge win.
It's perfect. Using camp as the example, if the paid staff is off, huddled up, doing their own thing all the time, and sometimes they have to because they're running camp, but for the most part, if they're not available to the other counselors, then why would we ever expect the counselors to be available to students? Because it's not been modeled, right? Okay, speed round. Speed round before we go to care. Just kind of give me like on a scale of 1 to 10 how important these things are. For us to give you clear direction about the ministry. Hey, here's where we're going this year. Here's how you guys can help us out.
I'd say that's a 9.
Okay,
9 or 10.
Us to be in relationship with you.
That's a huge priority for me. I'd say that's a 10.
Okay. For us to hold you accountable in areas of your life.
I think it's super important. And I think it's really important. I'd say like an 8.
Okay. That's all I got.
Okay. I think those are all good things.
One more.
No. Well, because I was kind of on that last one. I was kind of waiting for you to say, I don't need you guys to hold me accountable because I've got this whole other. So accountability is important.
Yeah.
Is it our role? I asked you that, wondering what you're going to ask because I'm not sure. Yeah. I think we do really well at the other two.
Yeah.
I don't know how well we do. I think if we see that you posted a Facebook post, hey, got drunk last night and woke up next to some strange lady. He's single, ladies. He's single. We would hold you accountable for that, right?
Yeah.
But that would be not out of relationship. If anything, that would be almost more out of we got to protect
obligation.
We got to protect our ministry.
Sure.
So I like hearing that you would say, I think. You guys should be holding me accountable just out of relationship, not out of obligation for protection of the perception.
But also relationship was very high.
Super high.
Which out of that, you can have a conversation of, and hopefully, you know, I know I've had many conversations with Chip, and we talk about everything. And so, like, hopefully, out of relationship, there is some kind of like sharing and mentoring in that area.
I'm going to hold us accountable for something, and I'm going to challenge you guys to do something. As we're having this conversation, I'm going, well, Chip's giving us all these awesome answers because he is our number one volunteer. He's highly involved.
Yes.
He's highly committed. He's in great relationship. It would be very interesting for us to get somebody who's newer, they're 6 months in, and ask them some of these same questions and see if they feel as well led and as well trained. Yeah. And I'm sure Chip's going to say he feels pretty well cared for. Yeah. It might be interesting for us to compare those. It might be interesting for you guys to sit down with a veteran and have this conversation, and then sit down with a rookie and have this conversation, and just kind of see. Yeah.
And I don't think there's wrong. Like, in 6 months, it's going to come and look at the ministry just a little bit different. Yeah. Newer eyes. Don't necessarily have the relationship that Chip has.
But Chip is going to be slow to criticize because he is 9 years in.
Not this Chip. No, I'm just kidding.
He's slow to criticize because he's showing that he loves this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's grace.
Well, and there's a difference between a new guy. I remember when I was just a brand new guy, just starting on, and all of them, am I doing this right? You know, I don't know any of these kids. Do I want to keep doing this? Yeah. You know, I'm screwing it up. You know, these kids hate me. Yeah. You know, why did I come on this camp? You know, and I can't tell you how many times where I'm like, what am I doing? You know, this is the wrong thing for me to do, God. And this is the last camp I'm ever going on. Yeah. These kids, you know, it's not working out. And I'm really glad that I just hung in there. You know, so.
Okay, talking about care. I've said numerous times that in my experience, I've never once had a volunteer leave our team because of lack of training. They've never left because of lack of leadership. They have left because they don't feel cared for. They feel like nobody knows me. I'm not part of the family. So a lot of the stuff that you've already expressed, we've lost people for lack of that, at least in their perception. And we might want to go, well, how could that be, right? But if that's what they're feeling, then it's real to them. So, talk to us a little bit about, and talk to other youth. You know, these are all youth leaders. They're leading youth ministries. What are the best ways that youth leaders can care for and encourage their volunteer team?
I think probably the best thing that I really appreciate is being included in some of the decision making, you know, or some of the vision casting, so that I know what the vision is for the ministry. I know what the leadership wants to do, so that when they're laying out, you know, events or plans for the year, I can go, oh, that makes sense based on what their original vision was. I don't want a situation where the staff is this one unit and the volunteers have no idea what's going on or aren't sure what's going on.
You're dancing around it. You've done everything a few times other than say purpose-driven. If you would have said purpose-driven, I would have taken you out to dinner tonight. Shit. Okay.
Purpose-driven.
So totally. So I think just being included. So being included in the vision and knowing the vision, and being part of that. And one of the coolest things about being a volunteer for me is being more involved in feedback and having input. And I'll get together with Josh Griffin or AC or the other team members, and here's my ideas. As a matter of fact, just this week I met with Josh, I met with AC, and I laid out, here's my ideas for small group. Here's my ideas for our database to keep track of our small group, our students. Here's my ideas, my input for events. These are some fun events. I think we could do them inexpensively, and here's how I can help. Yeah. And so I love being part of the team that way.
Any other ways that you've been encouraged?
I love just going out to a meal and just doing life together. I get a text from Josh Griffin or from at 1:45 and saying,
you started to say from you, and then you realized, wait, Kurt's
you were there.
Kurt has never sent me a text.
Kurt, he just met me.
That's not true. I've invited you to movies. You've come to. We've gone.
That's what I was going to say. Oh, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I've gotten texts from you.
Every now and then, you'll get a text from Kurt, and it's probably like 9:30 for like a 12 a.m. showing of some movie that only a guy would want to go see.
Oh yeah.
And you show up and it's like 12 dudes there.
Yeah, it's the best.
And you're like, you were here. What are you doing here? What are you doing
My
here?
love language
awesome.
is late night movies with the guys.
Oh, yeah.
That's my love language.
Yeah.
That's why I go.
My wife's love language is for Kurt to go to late night movies with the guys.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I get a text. Is that Kurt?
You might be getting one tonight. There's some movies.
I'm down.
Okay.
I'm totally
Anything
down.
else?
I think that, honestly, and to be allowed to volunteer, I think it's a joy to be included. I love being utilized as a volunteer. I am older, I've had a whole career behind me, so I have all this experience with lots of different things, and I love it when I can apply that experience and make a suggestion or say I can help out in this. And so I love it when that's utilized.
Awesome.
I think what you're really saying is how you feel cared for is how much you feel a part of this piece. And the other stuff is great, like the stuff that we do that, like in your package you'll get certain stuff like candy or gift card or
I'll take it. It's
stuff
all great.
like that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Or a written note or stuff like that we want to do and we encourage people to do. But you're saying the biggest piece is being cared for is feeling a part.
Feeling like I'm making a contribution. Yeah. That I'm not spinning my wheels. That it would matter. That God's using me. Yeah. I want to obey God. I want to follow His leading in this. That's why I'm here. Yeah. I want to know that I'm doing what God's called me to do, and that I have an opportunity to do what God's called me to do.
Well, and I know we're running late, probably. Yeah. Chip is a perfect example of one of my volunteer kind of leadership principles. That we've got pretty tight parameters. We've got a whole purpose-driven paradigm, and we know why we do the weekends the way we do, and why we do small groups. And so there's in some areas there's not a lot of room for Chip to change that. Yeah. But so he's in a box, right? He's in this box of our purpose-driven youth ministry paradigm. Everybody's in that box. Yeah. But he's been around 9 years, so we've just made the box that Chip gets to run around in bigger and bigger and bigger. And so, one way we can lead and care for our volunteers is as trust is built and as relationship is built, the walls of the box don't change, right? We've still got our walls, but we just blow those walls out further and further and further and say, hey, Chip, dude, whatever you want to do, as long as it's inside this box. And by the way, you've been around 10 years. Yeah. The walls for you are way out there. They're there, but they're way out there. So come to us with ideas. Yeah. Make ministry happen. Do new things. You've started ministries in our ministry. You've innovated in our ministry. And I hope that that's one of the best ways we lead you is to free you up to lead, and that's one of the best ways we care for you is to recognize that you're called to this thing, and you're passionate, and you've got your own gifts and your own ideas, and we empower you to make that happen.
Yeah.
this dude, stud right here.
Oh, totally.
Stud.
This is totally, I mean,
Ladies?
that text, I was like, okay.
Single man. Where will
Okay,
you, Chip, will you relocate for the right woman, or does she need to come to us?
She'd have to come
Hey,
here.
if you want to get with
okay.
Chip, call 949.
Are you of the financial means that if there was a woman out in the Youth Ministry Nation who said, I'd relocate to California to be with that hunk of bread of love, are you of the financial means to take care of the right godly woman?
I am right where I want to be right now.
Yeah, okay.
Very, very happy. Right, I feel I'm doing what God's called me to do. But I'm open if there's somebody
Yeah.
that's specially gifted.
Oh, hey,
I want to introduce you to
Sorry.
Paul right here.
I'm sorry.
All right, that's it. We're done, right? Training,
Yes, that's it.
leadership, and care.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 3 things you should do.
Thanks,
to
We're
guys.
back. This is our second week.
A little bit longer than we meant to be, but it was worth it.
See you guys.
Thanks.